Got it.
Yes. Hi, I'm Margaret Polly, and I'm the culinary nutritionist for the UAMS Culinary Medicine Program. And this is National Nutrition Month. And of course, as a dietitian, I think every month should be National Nutrition Month, but we do have a special month for it, and that is March. And I've asked Dr. Gloria Richard Davis to join us today. Dr. Davis is a reproductive endocrinologist, and we work together at the Women's Clinic. She also is the executive director for the Division of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion at UAMS, where she does a fabulous job. And something near and dear to my heart, she's the director and lead instructor for the Culinary Medicine Program, and I work with her there as well. I'm very lucky to be able to work with her in two different places. So, Dr. Richard Davis, I asked you to join me today because you know, National Nutrition Month has a theme every year, and this year it is personalize your plate. And I know that you used to live in New Orleans, is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a native Louisianian, South Louisiana.
Oh, okay, a native, okay. So you will be very familiar with this dish then. We are going to be making red beans and rice.
Oh yeah, staple of our diet.
Yes.
Every Monday.
And is it, you know the history behind the red beans and rice? Can you tell us that?
I know some of the history. You know, obviously New Orleans is, we say it's a gumbo, right? So it's a melting pot of a lot of different cultures that have come together in that city. But red beans and rice, in terms of its origin, there are lots of countries that have rice and beans as part of their diet. But for New Orleans, specifically, when we talk about the slave influence, right? As well as the Caribbean influence, especially the Haitian influence. So that's kind of been the blend of those two cultures in particular that has sort of lent itself to red beans and rice for New Orleans.
And it's I believe that what I read too is that it's actually part of the Louisiana Creole cuisine, which, as you mentioned, is a melting pot, right? It's the blend of West African, French, Spanish, and even American Indian and Southern cooking. So it's just, you know, just a gumbo, like you said.
I am actually Creole.
Yeah, and I love this dish because it does have history, and I'm big into food history, but women used to put on a pot of, well, the night before, probably they had some meat, they had the leftover scraps, so put it in with some beans, and cook it all day while they were off, you know, doing their chores, and it was wash day, I guess, was
Right.
Monday.
Right. So Sunday was the big deal because it's, you know,
Yeah.
Sunday, it's a Catholic based area because we have parishes, right? And so Sunday was your big meal, and you would use the leftover meats from your Sunday meals, whatever that was. If it's, you know, a ham bone or tasso sausage or andouille sausage, then you would use that basically to season your red beans and rice.
Okay, that's so cool. So, but we can enjoy today without having to do our laundry on Monday.
Yeah.
We can do it whenever we want. But what I love about this dish is not only is it a cuisine that's, you know, very personal to someone from Louisiana, okay, but we're also making it meatless. We're not using any meat. So it's a little bit healthier, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, and we're also going to be making it with brown rice instead. So I already did start this, just so you know. And you can see I've got the pepper. I've got the trinity, right? The pepper, the celery, and the onion all cooking. And then it also takes, let's see, some smoked paprika. I'm sorry?
That's our holy trinity.
Yes, the holy trinity. That's right. So the and you can buy this already chopped up if you want to save time. It's frozen, you know, little frozen packets in the supermarket. But we're adding smoked paprika, which just has this wonderful aroma. And believe me, you don't miss the meat. You've had this, you know what it's like.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, so we've got all that cooking in here, about a teaspoon of oil. So that's already has cooked down. So I'm going to add 2 cloves of garlic. And we add it a little bit later because we don't want it to burn, right? So let that cook a little bit. And then the recipe calls for kidney beans, but I believe that the red beans are a little more traditional. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I like them because they're a little softer, and they have a good mouthfeel, you know, and it kind of, that you can also mash them very easily and make it creamy, okay? So you can buy these, I bought these at Kroger. You know, you don't have to wait all day for them to cook like they used to do. You can buy them here, but you want to drain them and rinse them to get off as much sodium as you can.
So traditionally, we would use the dried version of beans.
Right, right.
And we would soak them to try and make them softer so they wouldn't require as long a cooking process.
Yeah, yeah. So this is our quick red beans and rice. So you can certainly make it the traditional way, but I don't know about you, but I don't really have that much time to cook.
No, I said the canned is delicious, okay?
So once we get that going, we can put in the beans. So there's 2 cans of beans. And we're also going to take 2 cups of broth or water. Either one. I have a vegetable broth that I use. And how easy is this? Oh, and I throw in a couple of bay leaves. And then you stir it around and cover it. So while that's cooking, let's chat a little bit. I did also make the brown rice beforehand. So, you know, personalizing your plate isn't just about, you know, regional foods. I mean, you think about it, I'm from the north, so if anybody took my baked beans away from me, I'd be pretty upset. And you would want to have your traditional food, you know, the red beans and rice or the gumbo, things like that. But, you know, so often a patient comes in to see a practitioner, doctor, dietitian, nurse, whatever, and they're saying, well, you know, stop eating tortillas, stop eating too many beans, stop eating rice, stop. And, you know, I have a hard time with that because isn't that kind of disrespectful?
And it's actually one of the challenges that I had even early on when I was at Meharry. We did a bidirectional grant where we were teaching our Hispanic patients to cook for gestational diabetes. And that was one of the things that we were very sensitive to, is that we have to look at what their native dishes are, and we modify it, right? So that it is consistent with a healthier diet for someone who is pre-diabetic or diabetic.
Yes, and you know, I think you know, we hear a lot about that patient wasn't compliant with the diet, and really many times it's not because they don't want to be, it's just that they're not able to eat the foods they enjoy, or that the rest of the family eats, or that they grew up eating. Now, if they grew up eating Taco Bell every day, we know that's probably not a good choice. But most people, you know, our traditional diets, wherever you're from, typically are very healthy. And Carla Hall, that was a chef, book author, she has this saying about celebration foods. That celebration foods are those foods that we would eat maybe on a birthday or on a holiday. And those are the ones that were like real high calorie. So maybe that was when, you know, you had fried chicken, okay, and or you had the big ham, or you had something like that, okay, and all the fixings, okay, which would be, you know, maybe not quite so healthy, but those are available to us every day now. That's our standard American diet. We can go and send every drive-through and takeout place, you know, up and down Markham, you know, as I go home, I see them. So if we go back to having celebration meals as celebrations, and then every day maybe eat the way that we were brought up, or maybe our parents were brought up, we'd probably be a lot healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I remember in my household growing up, we never really had sweets except on Sundays.
Yeah.
You know, cakes would be baked and it was for Sunday. So I think we have really, as you're saying, the celebration foods have really sort of eroded into our everyday. And the other thing is, you know, when we talk about native foods, is to make sure, especially when we're crossing languages, is to make sure that we are expressing it in a way that is comprehensible, right? To the culture that we're serving.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, we do have to know what those native foods are. I mean, I've had people say to a patient, you know, stay away from the tortillas. Well, the flour tortillas, yes. Corn tortillas, no. I mean, they're low in sodium, they're a whole grain. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Mhm.
And if someone told me, you know, raised in Maine, that I had to stay away from potatoes, where we had potatoes every day. I mean, that, you know, it's, a potato should be the size of a computer mouse, you know, like that, not the size of a Jason's Deli potato. So we know it's all about quality and quantity.
Right.
So we can fit cultural foods into a diet. And that to me is what it means to personalize our plate. You know, we're in the business of changing, we're not in the business of changing a person's culture, but we are in the business of promoting the culture of healthy eating. That's the way I like to look at it.
Yes.
And, but we have to know what we're talking about as well.
Right.
So I'm thrilled that, you know, hopefully there's something you can do with, while you're with the Division of Diversity and Equity and Inclusion at UAMS. I mean, let's include food too, and in that. So
Absolutely.
I'd love to educate practitioners if you ever want that.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things, Margaret, that I took away from you when we first prepared this dish, because I always had, you know, I would use like turkey sausage or something, right, in my red beans and rice. But the smoked paprika really takes, I mean, replaces that. It's really delicious.
It is. And I remember one time we used it in class, and the students, he's like, oh my goodness. He says, this is incredible. Where has this been all my life? It was hilarious. But he just did not know what smoked paprika was. I mean, most of us are used to the red paprika that's on top of like deviled eggs or something. You know, it really doesn't have a lot of flavor. So, you know, and I guess I probably have said it already, but I want to just really make the point clear to everybody out there that our cultural foods aren't the problem. It's our standard American diet. It's or sad, because it is sad. Standard American.
It is bad. It is very
sad. And that's where we all have our work cut out for us. And so I hope that with National Nutrition Month, we have been able to, you know, bring a few of these videos out and talk to people about how to personalize their plate and how to eat healthier. We do have all of our recipes online, correct?
Yes.
We have, what is it, UAMS.culinaryMedicine.edu, is that what, I can't remember. But you can Google it.
It is .edu. Yeah.
Right. And then also they can go to the culinarymedicine.org website, which also has all the recipes we use. All those recipes are low in sodium, low in saturated fat. A lot of them are vegetarian or very plant forward. You know, using a little bit less meat. They have healthy cooking, use healthy cooking methods, bake, broil, grill versus frying. And, you know, I offer these to my patients all the time, and they tell me they love them. So I use them at home too. And, you know, and we know as we're teaching the students, they're always falling on the food as soon as they're done.
Students love it.
Yes, it is great. So anyway, I'm going to dish this up. It's not quite ready, but I just want to show everybody what a serving size would look like. Okay.
And it's easy to make. And, you know, like with so many other dishes, the vegetables, the seasoning really makes the dish.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think about all these vegetables that were in here, I mean, we've got the legumes with the, so it's a plant, of course, plant protein, but we have, let's see, it was a 1 whole onion, a stalk of celery, and a half a green pepper. So, I mean, there's it's not quite a serving of vegetables, but you have this with maybe a side salad, and it makes quite a meal. So this would be about a half a cup of brown rice, which I made earlier, and it's supposed to be a 6. Now, I can't really measure a 6 very well, but it's going to be about a cup of that bean. So that is a very substantial, can you see that? Okay, it's a very substantial meal, and because of all that fiber, it's going to keep you full longer. And I know there's some carbophobes out there, and that's true. This has carbs, but it's a great quality of carbohydrate. You can also add a little hot pepper sauce if you want to on this. This only has 270 calories right there. That's crazy. I mean, if you had that at a restaurant, probably double, right? Probably double the amount of calories and double the amount of salt. This only has about a half teaspoon of salt for the whole thing. It does have 48 grams of carbohydrates, but as served here, that would be the equivalent of the carb servings of say a person that has diabetes. Okay, that would be what they'd want to have, and then they could have some of those non-starchy vegetables on the side just to round out the meal. This is a very healthy meal. I love that we were able to do a cultural food, and what other foods are very typical to Louisiana? I'm not that familiar.
I'm sorry, what else is typical?
What other foods are your favorites from Louisiana? I'm not as familiar with the Louisiana cuisine.
Of course, gumbo. We do gumbo. We do all sorts of variations of gumbo. We have etouffee, which is typically seafood as well, with a little bit of a flour flavor base to it. So those very common. And I noticed how you just kind of glazed over that hot sauce and didn't really spend a lot of time dwelling on it. Okay, the hot sauce for Louisiana is germane to our dishes, right? And it's kind of interesting. Tabasco sauce, which is made in Louisiana, is made in Avery Island. Avery Island is a bird sanctuary.
Oh, okay.
And so the cayenne pepper that they grow on Avery Island is unique to Avery Island. And someone said to me before, it was never intended for us to use it the way it's used. It's supposed to be used in cooking, but everybody has it on their table.
Everybody, puts it on afterwards. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is a dish you can make as hot as you like. The Creole or Louisiana cuisine that I have had is not overly spicy to me. It's just very flavorful. I love the flavors of the garlic and the all those vegetables and the seafood. It can be a very healthy way of cooking. Again, especially with all those beans, and if we can switch the white rice to brown rice, I mean, one little switch like that, and you can still enjoy all those cultural foods that you grew up with.
Absolutely, you're making me hungry.
Okay, well, come on over. So, well, thank you, Dr. Richard Davis. I really appreciate your help with this, and thanks for joining us today. And maybe you'll join us another time when we talk about food. Okay.
Absolutely, invite me back anytime.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.